In this video, we will talk about the 5 pros and cons of living in Lexington, North Carolina, so that you can make an informed decision. My name is Kristen Brown, and I'm a realtor with eXp Realty. On this channel, living in the Triad area of North Carolina, I discuss what it's like to eat, sleep, live, work, and play in the Triad area of North Carolina. Tap on the subscribe button or the notification bell so that way you're notified the next time I make a video. I get calls, texts, and emails every day from people who are either moving here or relocating here, and I absolutely love it. If you're thinking about moving or relocating to the Triad area of North Carolina, make sure you give me a call, send me a text, or shoot me an email. I got you covered when moving to the Triad area of North Carolina. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons, or 5 pros and 5 cons of living in Lexington, North Carolina. And I'm not from here. This list is based on my perception of someone who was not born and raised in this area. I am from the Boston area of Massachusetts, and I've lived in areas of New England, as well as Florida, South Carolina, and Texas. So this list is just based on my perception and my experience living here. Now let's dive into those 5 pros and those 5 cons. So number 1 pro is Lexington has a small town feel. The downtown, or what they call here uptown, is probably about 3 blocks, maybe 4 blocks, and that's what is on Main Street. The town or city of Lexington itself, well, the town of Lexington is part of Davidson County, and it can take you about 30 minutes to go from one side west to east to north to south. So the area of Lexington is really big, but the actual town or the city of Lexington is really small. And we really like having that kind of feel because we like to just get in the car, go down to the uptown area, and maybe go to a couple shops or maybe go to a restaurant. And one of the stores that we really like to take people to when they come to visit is the candy store. And in the candy store, it's really cool because it has candy from all different generations or all different decades. So there's something for everybody in there, and it's just a neat spot to go to. When my brother-in-law came to visit, we took him to the candy store as well as his kid, my nephew, who's now 17 years old. And he was just so surprised at all the different types of candy they had and things that he remembered from when he was a kid. The number 2 pro to living in the Lexington area is the property taxes. The property taxes are pretty low for this area. In the Triad area compared to Guilford County, which is where Greensboro is, Winston-Salem, where Forsyth County, where Winston-Salem is, and then you got Lexington, where Davidson County is. Out of those 3 counties, Davidson is the lower of those property taxes. So if you're living in the county part of Lexington, then you're only responsible for paying county taxes. But if you're living within city limits, then they tax you both for city tax as well as the county tax. So it costs a little bit more to live within city limits, but in the county, it's just the county tax. One thing to keep in mind, because so many people are moving here from out of state, is that some of the cities have now started to expand their city limits. So it's something just to keep an eye on if that's something that you're concerned about with taxes going up. We know that taxes will always go up. It's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. But for example, one of my clients bought a house last year and it was considered in the county, and this is in Winston-Salem. This year, come to find out, they've now changed the property lines or the boundary lines for the actual city of Winston-Salem. So now his tax rate will be what the city rate is as well as the county rate. The number 3 pro to living in Lexington is all the wine vineyards that we have here. Along Route 50, there are probably like 3 or 4. There's Curran Alexander, Native Vines, Junius Lindsay, and the Weather Vane. They're all like right along or right off of 150. So that's kind of a fun thing to do, to go to one of the wine vineyards and do a wine tasting. For example, one of the wine vineyards that we like to go to during the summer or in the warmer months, you can tell the way I'm dressed today is a little bit of a cold day. We like to go to Curran Alexander because they do live music on the weekends, and they have this pretty cool gazebo and like this little setup patio and Adirondack chairs, and you can pick whatever wine you want, have a glass of wine or take a bottle, whatever, and listen to the live music that they have. And you're sitting among the vineyards. So that's a pretty cool experience. Another famous vineyard is Richard Childress, or the Childress Vineyards, which he's a race car driver. He opened up Childress Vineyards. And at Childress Vineyards, they also have a bistro there. So we like to go there for lunch or even for like Sunday brunch, because the food there is just fantastic, in my opinion. And they do have concerts there that they put on during the summer. And then if you're part of their wine club, sometimes they'll do like a special dinner that's just open to its members. It's not all the time, and it's something that you have to sign up for or be a member of by paying that membership fee. And then you get some of those special benefits or some of those membership benefits that they provide. The number 4 pro is the cute little downtown. So that kind of goes back to number 1 with being a small town feel. The cute little downtown, or uptown as they call it here, is probably about 3 blocks long. And it's being revitalized, I think. It had been very depressed here for a long time when all of the furniture companies went overseas for manufacturing and took a lot of those jobs. Well, now Lexington is making a comeback with all the different people who have moved here, entrepreneurial type people, as well as people who are working in either Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point, or maybe even commuting down to Charlotte, which the Charlotte Airport, Charlotte Douglas International, is about 55 minutes from downtown Lexington. So again, it would just depend on where you are in the county of Lexington to where that proximity is to that airport. But with that cute little downtown or uptown, they have, like I said, various shops and restaurants that you can go and check out. And for restaurants, there's a Thai restaurant. There's also Japanese, Chinese, as well as Americana kind of bistro kind of food. The number 5 pro to Lexington is the variety of homes. You can get a lot of bang for your buck here, especially compared to other areas of the country. So we have a lot of new construction going on. You can click on one of my videos here about new construction. It's called The Truth About New Construction, as well as resale homes, also fixer-uppers. There aren't really that many condos. There may be like a couple, and then there are very few townhouses. But depending on what your style is and depending on what you are looking for, there's something for everybody. So since there's something for everybody, there is diversity in Lexington. Will it be as much diversity as like New York City, Chicago, or Boston, or LA? No, because those are really large cities that have a big metropolitan population, right? Here it's still considered a small town. So there is diversity, but it may not be as much as what you might be used to coming from wherever you're coming from. In order to truly find out what will work for you, no budget is too big or too small. Make sure you give me a call or send me a text or shoot me an email. That way I can help you decide what area of Lexington or what area of the Triad would work for you. And now let's talk about the cons. And again, these cons are more based on my perception of living in Lexington and someone who's not from here. I'm coming up on my 3-year anniversary of being here. So these are my cons that I've compiled. My first con is the grocery store options. So the only large grocery store here or grocery store chain that we have here is called Food Lion. It's a regional grocery store. So up north, we had Wegmans and Shaw's, for example. So I would say Food Lion is maybe comparable to Shaw's. And down south, the only grocery store, well, it's not the only one, but everybody knows of Publix, for example. We do have Publix in the area. There's a Publix in Winston-Salem and also in Clemmons. And there's also Whole Foods over in Winston-Salem. Those would be the closest to Lexington. But actually in Lexington, what we have here is a Food Lion. And Food Lion, it's not that it's bad. It has a good value for what you get. But there are certain things that you can't get at Food Lion. For example, you might have seen a video I did about my mother-in-law not being able to get polenta, and polenta is just like grits, but it's like the Italian version, and they don't have polenta. They don't stock it. So if we want polenta, we have to go to Trader Joe's or Publix in Winston-Salem, or we just decided to sign up for Costco, which is also in Winston-Salem. So that way we can get those types of foods that we need to get that they don't necessarily have at Food Lion. And it's just kind of interesting to me that some of the things that I put up on the conveyor belt for the cashier to ring, for example, bok choy, a lot of the cashiers look at it and they say, well, what is this? They have no idea what bok choy is. So I always have to explain what bok choy is and tell them how good it is. So my hope is that one of these days, maybe they'll buy bok choy and try how we saute it and how we cook it, and maybe open up their taste buds to something else that they've never tried before. Number 2 is the driving distance within the Triad. So Lexington is in the southern part of the Triad. The Triad makes up 12 counties, and on the map, it doesn't look like it's that big of an area, but it really is. So for me, it takes me 30 minutes to get anywhere in the Triad. So it's about 30 minutes to Greensboro, 25 to 35 minutes to Winston-Salem, depending where I'm going in Winston-Salem. And it's about the same for High Point, about 25 to 35 minutes. And for me, I had been spoiled growing up in the Northeast in the Boston area with everything being so close together that I wouldn't be in the car for that long. Well, here it's kind of like being in Florida, where it takes me 30 minutes to get anywhere. So it's been hard for me to make that adjustment where I have to add in that time on my calendar just to make sure that I allow enough time to get to wherever I'm going to. The number 3 con is there are not enough parks in Lexington. We really only have 2. One is Grimes Park and the other is Finch Park. And we're just the type of people that we like to get out and exercise as much as we can. And with Grimes Park, it's really beautiful and nice. They have like 2 loops that you can walk around. I'm not sure what the mileage is, maybe like a half mile. But after doing that a few times, you get kind of bored with that. And then the other park is Finch Park. And Finch Park, they have some like mountain biking trails as well as hiking trails through the woods. But unfortunately, with those trails through the woods, you have to share those trails with the mountain bikers whenever they come through. And for us, it's just not long enough. There's just not enough mileage, so to speak. So you have to maybe go around twice, for example, or even like Grimes Park, we have to do that maybe 2 or 3 times to get in our exercise. And where we live in our subdivision, it's just not really a good place for us to walk our dogs because there aren't any sidewalks. And my subdivision is a new subdivision. And I don't want my dogs peeing on other people's sod. So just trying to be respectful of my neighbors. And that's why we prefer to take our dogs to one of the parks. Our favorite park in the area is Tanglewood Park, which is in Clemmons. And here's a little short video about Tanglewood. And that park is 1,100 acres, and we never get bored there because there are so many different trails we can do. The con to going to Clemmons is that it's about 30 to 35 minutes to get there. So if you figure in 30 to 35 minutes, and then we're going to walk or hike for at least an hour, and then another 30 to 35 minutes, it just takes up a lot of time. So I really wish that we had a larger park for walking the dogs here. My number 4 con is lack of entertainment. So being that we're a small town, we really don't have that much entertainment. There is a movie theater, but I don't go to the movie theater anymore. I don't know about you. We do have a small amphitheater downtown that some concerts come to. We also have a farmer's market, which is pretty cool. It's open during the summers. And they just recently started having winter hours that are every other week or something like that. But for any type of larger entertainment, we would have to go to Charlotte, Greensboro, or Winston-Salem, or even High Point. And not that that's a bad thing, but then we have to get in the car to drive there. So if getting in the car and driving to different places is a real sticking point for you, then Lexington may not be the right fit for you. But again, when you give me a call, that's something that we can discuss. And something that I'm going to ask you is, what do you like to do in your off time? What is your lifestyle like? Because if it doesn't really matter where you live in the Triad, but let's say you're working remotely, for example, then it just makes it nicer to be able to live closer to the things that you enjoy doing in your off time. And the number 5 con is the lack of restaurants, or not enough restaurants. So yes, we do have Chinese, Japanese, Thai, Mexican, Americana kind of restaurants. We even have a Kentucky Fried Chicken that's on Main Street. But for us, being that I've traveled all over the world, and my husband and I have lived in various parts of the country, up and down the Eastern Seaboard, and even out in San Antonio, Texas, we've just have different experiences that we're bringing with us here. So for us, there's maybe 2 restaurants that we really like where we can get good gluten-free options for him. And the other restaurants, we just feel like, there's just not enough flavor, I guess. And that's something that we're really used to. So that's been a little bit of a struggle for us, trying to figure that out, and what restaurants that, first of all, would be gluten-free for him, where we can find those gluten-free options, and then are the restaurants that will have enough flavor and enough variety that will be satisfied. Still have questions about living in the Triad area or relocating to the Triad area? Make sure you give me a call, send me a text, or shoot me an email. I got you covered when moving to the Triad area of North Carolina. Until next time.